If your business has clients, today we're going to discuss the 13 things you need to know to grow your firm by not screwing your firm up. Hey, I'm Richard James, and I'm here in Orlando at the Ritz-Carlton on a golf trip with my son MPS, and we're celebrating this reality that he has purchased 49% of my company. I thought about what advice would I give my son, God forbid I left this earth prematurely, what would he need to know to make sure he didn't screw up the business? And so today we're going to discuss the top 13 things you could do if you wanted to make sure you screwed up your practice. That's Charlie Munger's way of thinking about inverted thinking, where he talked to people about how to think the opposite way of what would be successful. So how about we figure out what we would do to screw it up and then think about the opposite? I'm going to invite MPS here to have this conversation with us so you can hear me giving him the advice in real time. So, Michael, welcome to the show.
Thanks, Rich. This is a fun time and exciting opportunity. I'm excited to hear what you've got to say today about how to avoid stupidity and screwing up what I just bought into. So with that said, what's the first thing you had in mind as far as avoiding screwing up the practice?
If you want to screw up your practice, the first thing you should do is stop serving so that you think already made it. Like buying the business, becoming the CEO, or whatever your role is in the company has this level of achievement, right? But really this idea that you need to take your service level to a whole new level, which means you have to serve your staff. You have to serve your clients. You have to serve your vendors. You have to come from a perspective of service. Do you have any general thoughts on this?
Yeah, I think it could be very easy to get complacent or comfortable thinking, I've got a good business, got profitability, it's easy to sit back and chill out.
I think it's like a little bit of feeling like we don't have to do this anymore. The higher you get in the company, the more you have to do. Patrick Lencioni calls it the CEO is not for Chief Executive Officer, but rather it's for Chief Executing Officer. It's serving. Does that make sense?
It does. Many people, if they get into that CEO role, they think it's time to sit down, relax, and just oversee everything.
So let's talk about the second thing that you can do if you want to make sure you screw up your business, and that's start taking your clients for granted. So you've maybe purchased a practice, or maybe they've stepped into somebody else's practice and they just succeeded to them. And sometimes they forget about the clients that got them there. They focus all their attention on getting new business and don't pay attention to those who helped them, the business become what it is. We've got clients who've been with us a very long time, so we need to continue to make sure we don't take them for granted.
You and I have had conversations about things to change. You do a good job of this and saying, if we change this, here's the potential domino effect of our current clients. So it's always that check of making sure you've got the checks and balances there. If you make too many changes or you only focus on the new, all the clients you've established a history with can get frustrated, get complacent in their position as a client, and decide to leave. And never taking the client for granted is an important point, and that's really what got the business to where it is.
You brought up a really interesting point I want to plus one on. Years ago, one of my original mentors, Richard Parker, if you're watching.
What's up, Richard?
When I bought my first business with him helping me, he told me, don't change a thing for 6 months. And that was tough for me because the business was geographically located 3 hours from my house. And I bought the business in hopes to relocate it, and he's don't. For the first 6 months, I drove my rear end every day, 3 hours one way and 3 hours another way. My life was a bit crazy. We had 2 young kids. Your mom was thinking I was out of my mind, but not doing that allowed us to grow that company because we were able to get a firm grasp on what worked and really build around that and be able to see more of the forest through the trees because we were standing above it, just letting the business run. So let's talk about the third thing that you absolutely can do if you want to screw up your business, and that is stop marketing. Just look at the marketing budget and go, my gosh, we're spending 12% of gross revenues on marketing. Man, why do we have to spend all that money? I think a lot of new business owners oftentimes look at marketing as an expense rather than an investment. Or if times get a little tight, they initially think, let's turn down the marketing and that's where we'll save some money. And if you want to screw up your business pretty quickly, that's where you're going to do it. Do you agree?
I do. It's important to know for anyone that does buy a practice, don't jump in and look at the marketing budget and decide to either cut it or stop it.
So that leads us into the fourth item that could definitely hurt your business, which is stop selling. Some think that their job becomes administration, or they think that they have to manage the finances, payroll, or HR. And all those things are true. And there are many different things that are thrown at you. But if you stop selling and you stop putting your focus on that particular issue, or stop training your sales associates, whatever the sales department is, if you ignore that department because you have other things you have to do, that's the start of the demise.
Yeah, look, at the end of the day, sales is what allows your business to be fueled. Without new sales, your business is dying. There's really no in between. It's either growing or it's dying. So you got to constantly sell.
This idea that you're either moving forward or you're moving backward, but you can't stand still. You'll start sliding backward. And the way we keep moving forward is to keep focusing on sales. The next piece, the fifth piece of advice, or the item that they could do if you wanted to screw up your business, is to stop measuring. It's too difficult. It takes too much time. I don't understand why this is important. And they stop measuring all of the KPIs. You're all of a sudden using a shotgun. You don't have a target. You're blindfolded. Whatever analogy that you want to use, how have you adopted to the thought process of measuring everything?
I would say in most things, I'm fully on board and very solid at measuring, especially on those front-end statistics. Some of the back-end statistics, fulfillment and stuff like that, could probably use some practice. And I think it's very easy to get into that position and either keep what the previous person had in place, which could have been a lot of measuring, could have been no measuring. But I think to choose not to measure sets yourself up for failure.
We've been doing this for about 15 years at a high level for most small consulting firms. That didn't happen by itself. When it comes to generating leads all the way through serving the client, all these things that we've been measuring from the beginning. I think that's the reasons why we've been successful at having this long-term business.
So measuring the data is an important part of this that should not be overlooked.
How nice is it for us to be able to go back and take a look at the historical information? When you're new, you've never made a decision that you're thinking you want to make. We've got all this data. Let's look. We tried that this way.
Right.
Here's what happened.
And that testing is important. Being able to just have a snapshot of all of these things that you have tested and have the actual numbers on it has made life much easier to make decisions on.
So number 6 is stop leading. Stop being a leader. It's so easy for the owner of a business to get caught up in what they're good at. You're good at sales, right? So it would be really easy for you to just maintain your role in sales and not grow out of that. Even though you bought the business, stay in that role instead of leading all of their teams, which means you have to coach your people through.
There's the growing in the leadership experience. I also hear a lot of stories on Twitter. A lot of people on there are buying businesses. I think this is a big issue because you see a lot of them that buy it and the goal is they buy it and just sit back and can just have the life that they want, which means not leading, right? Because now they're just relying on the people that were already there to lead. So I think that I need to continue to grow in, continuing to grow in that in all facets of the business, growing in leadership in other realms.
Replacing yourself in the day-to-day activities so that you can lead, not so you could do nothing else, but so you can lead the other people who are doing it.
Right.
Building a team. You're going to forever be the bottleneck if you don't raise up to the point where you're the leader. You still have to lead, and they have to lead strategically. And so if you want to screw up your business, stop leading.
I think this is helpful. These are really solid reasons.
Look, don't screw up your business. Take the Charlie Munger approach and invert everything we talked about today and do the opposite of it. I think you're going to find yourself serving more clients in a sales-driven, client-focused business and building it on these concepts of systems and structures.
Hey, give some love to Rich in the comments, hit that like button, and subscribe or follow.
Appreciate you.